Hello, everyone. This is Emily at Classic Lit with Emily. Today, I have a stack plus more than these to go over with you of classic holiday and or Christmas literature. We're going to discuss some of these great works, when they're written, the significance of them, some thematic and analysis on each of the books, a little bit of summary on them so you can sort of decide what you want to put your time into this holiday season. That being said, I do have with my Christmas decor in my storage another giant bin of Christmas literature. I can only keep so many on my shelves back here, and I keep my more special editions here so I can grab them or look at them all year round or whenever I want to. So there are some works that aren't covered. Two particularly I did want to put in this video that I can't access right now because they're buried with the Christmas stuff. So I'll cover those at the end, and I'll just put up an image to show you since I don't have the hardback version with me. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for future notifications. I am a college English instructor. I have a bachelor's degree in English literature. I have a master's degree in English, and I also have a master's degree in adult education. So I have taught literature, writing, English for many years, different colleges, and I've put that into the love for classic literature into this channel, and sometimes not literature that is opinion based if it's classic or not that I just want to discuss great books on my channel. So that being said, we are going to just start with one of my favorites because it's my beautiful version of Old Christmas by Washington Irving. It is so gorgeous. This particular edition is from the Easton Press. I purchased it last year. It has the gold-tipped pages. It's all leather, has a bookmark. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the original look and style and art inside and out that came with the book. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. And this is one of the reasons that this is my favorite is because of the fact that it really encompasses um, the nostalgic kind of Christmas we dream about, the Victorian Christmas. It's sort of this, and by the way, it was written by Washington Irving and it was written in 1819. So it's early sort of even pre-Victorian era literature. And I really, I've always loved it. It's a break from the quintessential, Dickens Christmas, and it finally kind of goes over the old English Christmas traditions, depicting like this festive holiday season of like warmth and feasting and family and wintry goodness. The essays were first published in a magazine in 1819 called The Sketchbook, and it kind of helped revive families to get more into the Christmas tradition back then when things had been kind of humdrum and a lot of hard times in those days, a lot of cold, airy times. And so I think that it really helped to like capture the essence of Christmas in this story. And let me show you the inside of this book real quick. So it's so beautiful, and they still have some of these available, I believe. But yeah, you have this kind of the beautiful art, the end papers. We have the color pictures in here. So it's like you're really reading like a book, the book when it first came out. And it's just so entirely lovely. And I'll talk about it more here. But for example, a little bit of the intro passage I can read to you here. There is nothing in England that exercises a more delightful spell over my imagination than the lingerings of the holiday customs and rural games of former times. They recall the pictures my fancy used to draw in the May morning of my life, when as yet I only knew the world through books and believed it to be all that poets had painted it. And it just goes into reminiscing over all the perfect Christmas that kind of is associated to what we think about when we think of like a Dickens Christmas or things of that nature. And some of the broader themes in this book, we can talk about like the nostalgia of the old English Christmas tradition. They make it kind of like Washington Irving makes it kind of rural and picturesque and like he like romanticizes it. That this 19th century English Christmas in here, including like the famous Bracebridge Hall dinner. We have in here as well. We have key sort of elements on the celebration of that Bracebridge dinner, the sort of like the customs, the grand Christmas dinner, the caroling, the dancing, the decorating with evergreens, the gathering around the fire. We have warm and cozy and fireside nostalgic, heartwarming tone that just makes us think of goodwill and family and community. No ghosts or anything in there like in Christmas Carol, really, that I recall. I try to read this maybe every other year, but it really portrays a time when there was more of a communal spirit to Christmas and less about the modern like dispensation of what we think about of Christmas now. This book also sort of encompasses the revival of Christmas in America. So the popularity of his essays in the United States played a really significant role in what became the modern Christmas celebration, sort of that we took from Europe. And we have these underlying themes in this book of loss, and that loss is portrayed through the nostalgia of a time and a feeling and an essence of Christmas that as adults we can't really encapsulate the same, even if we try. So there's a lot of like kind of you can detect the undertones of grief and loss in here that makes you feel really almost sad for the perspective of how it's written. Sort of like the bemoaning of modern society and how it's kind of eroded the genuineness of what these traditions should have been. So in a way, it is like a romanticized ideal, I guess, of Christmas. But these lingering holiday customs are really shown as so important and it really just brings you back into like the just the charm and the beautiful lyrical prose and the descriptive detail. It's so beautiful. I love it. And you can get an Amazon copy. There's a really nice copy on Amazon that goes with I think goes with I'll show you my Penguin Classics in this pile. Um, so, so I think the influence on modern Christmas is the most important part of this work. And I think kind of there's like a little undertone of critiquing American society's Christmas, what kind of had become, was already starting to become at the time even it was written. And so I think that the argument here is that Christmas joy, I love my bookmarker. Christmas joy really comes from like the social connection, but not just from existing in material possession, which of course we see some of in A Christmas Carol as well. So absolutely beautiful, great for your Christmas list. I will link below some really nice copies of these books. The ones I show you here, I can even link this one below if you do the more drop down menu. But let's move into fun times. The Christmas at Thompson Hall by Anthony Trollope. I never know if I like pronounce his name right. Trollope. And this was written in 1876. And this is my beautiful edition. They're Christmas classics. These are from Amazon. They're very affordable. I think there's 7 or 8 of them in the series. I have a couple more I'll show you. Nice little hardbacks. They all have the same spine, so you can line them up together. Um, Nice cover. These make really nice gifts. You can get like 2 or 3 or 4 and give them as gifts to anybody, your sister, brother, people who have kids for their holiday tradition to read every year. So I can show you the inside, and we have a little bit here of some endnotes. So there's no color in here, but we do see some nice text, and there's a few little, I say illustrations, but they're more like a calligraphy. So they're not as illustrated like the Eastern Press classics, but they're really beautiful little books. And so Anthony Trollope was the author of Barchester Towers, which is a very important literary work. But this Christmas at Thompson Hall is a collection of like Christmas stories. He was a Victorian novelist featuring certain stories. They're more comical and satirical and interesting. One is about a married couple's journey to England for the holidays. I haven't read this one in a couple of years. I'm trying to think. Um, Christmas Thompson Hall is the main story, but of course there's some other stories. It's about a misunderstanding that happens like in a hotel in Paris, and there's like this embarrassing encounter with the wife's relative that doesn't go well, and before they get to the family's estate they're trying to go home to for Christmas. So it's very lighthearted and humorous, not quite as heavy in the era as we see in the Old Christmas or even A Christmas Carol. But there's a lot of undertones of pride and stubbornness and misunderstandings and the ego and things in that nature. So, but the main story follows, I think it was Brown, Mr. Brown, or yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, the Browns, they travel from France to England for Christmas, like I said, in Paris. Mr. Brown gets sick, forcing the wife to have to like get relief for his condition, which is really like a sore throat. And she enters the wrong room trying to go get him help where they're at, and that's kind of where she meets a stranger, and all these events go downhill and after that. So it's really interesting. It's kind of not what you would expect reading for the time period for Christmas. The rest of the collection includes stories of similar themes about, but they're all like these undertones of like misunderstandings and things that are not as they seem, and but the themes we still have in the book, theme wise, we still have the Victorian Christmas traditions, but we still have social class as an undertone, familial relationships, sort of like the humorous consequences and a satirical way of misunderstanding and things that go wrong in the holidays that even in this day and age we can relate to with family. So it's real easy to read, really charming, very entertaining. Christmas at Thompson Hall. Everyone remembers the severity of the Christmas of 1877. I will not designate the year more closely, lest I should enable those who are too curious to investigate the circumstances of this story, and inquire into details which I do not intend to make known. The winter, however, was especially severe, and the cold of the last 10 days of December was more felt, I think, in Paris than any part of England. But it still has this gorgeous classic writing that we love, and it's easy to read, not real heavy, but also just brilliant and descriptive and engaging. Like you're just gonna want to keep reading it. So highly recommend A Christmas at Thompson Hall. You can't go wrong. The next one I have here, well, I think I'm trying to think of in Barchester Towers. Um, Trying to think. I mean, there's a few things that makes me think of Barchester Towers in there because I haven't read that one in probably 7 or 8 years. Well, I'm just gonna let you read it. If you like Anthony, if you like Christmas at Thompson Hall, that would be a good opening for you to go in and read Barchester Towers. But let's talk about Dylan Thompson's A Child's Christmas in Wales, another beautiful collectible version from Amazon. Mine I'm bummed because I have a little oil stain on mine. The illustrations are by Trina Shart Hyman, Hyman, Heman. And it's sort of like about these bittersweet memories of Christmas. It's lovely. This is a cute little, this would be a nice gift as well. If you're going to a Christmas holiday party, just pick up this book, give it to your family that has kids, or someone who loves Christmas. It's just like a charming collectible you can put on your holiday display. Of course, you can probably find this online somewhere too. But it was written by a Welsh poet, Dylan Thomas. It was written in 1952. And it's a beautiful viewpoint from this Welshman of a young boy who's portraying nostalgia for a simpler time. Well, a man, from the perspective of the older man who's showing the nostalgia of Christmas from when he was a boy. That's a better way to describe it. But it recounts like memories of the child's Christmas in Wales, told from the perspective of how he's old now and reflecting on his life. And there's just like this magical and childlike like sense of wonder. Makes me think of the Polar Express kind of child's adventures and unique characters and rich sensory detail of the holiday season, like food and gifts and special descriptions of the snow and just this really glorious, romantic, sort of dreamlike view of the past. Like when you want to escape our modern Christmas and get back to the past, like I really like it from the Child's Christmas in Wales. I'm trying to think of there's a Star Trek movie. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but I've seen the movie, one of the older movies with the Picard, the bald guy, where he goes into this virtual reality and he goes into this Victorian Christmas scene. And I always think of like this book, and sometimes I even think of the old Christmas, the actual Christmas, party. When I think of that scene, that's what makes me think. I think of this though a lot from like the perspective of the kids who would be at that event, what it would have been like to remember it now that you're old and it's, you know, mid 1950s, and when you're a child it was late 1800s and your Christmases were entirely different. So it really shows the beauty of the season at like every turn, like the loveliness of the connections of the family, the predictability of like the cats by the fire, the sound of the crackling fire, the fun and the mischief of the children running around, the excitement of opening the gifts, the Saint Nicholas reminiscings. And so this is kind of like a story in a story. There's the storytelling aspect of the character telling a story about his childhood, grandfatherly stories. Themes here, we have like the nostalgia, the innocence of childhood at Christmas when everything is perfect and we think Santa Claus is real. And it captures like the juxtaposition of the idealized past and the realistic present, and how can we bring some of that magic back to our adulthood. So it's a very lyrical, evocative language. The writing style, there's like these little vignettes, and there's like snowball fights, and a neighbor has a fire, and like just Christmas gifts that nobody wants, but how do you like respond to that? And we can all relate to that. And the elements, key elements from the Child's Christmas in Wales, I'll show you the inside here in a second, would be like, the food and drink, the luscious, decadent food and drink we get in the holidays. The atmosphere is rich, the joy of Christmas is just oozing in atmosphere. The family and community importance of how children are supported by adults during these holidays, and the gifts that are either meaningful or meaningless, and how to respond to each. And from a child's perspective, you don't really have the grace to like know how to do that. So we have that. This has been adapted to film, and I don't think I've ever seen it, but we have these kind of blue inside papers. Beautiful, beautiful illustrations. These kind of sepia drawings. So gorgeous. I love this book. It's small, it's short. One Christmas was so much like another. In those years around the sea town corner now, and out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before I sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days or 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. Oh, yeah, I love it. I can't wait. I can't read any Christmas until Christmas, so I'm showing these to you guys now so you can start picking up the stuff that you want to pick up. Okay, so we're going to go into another from that same series, which was with the bird cover, the collectible. So The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by Frank L. Baum. This one's gorgeous too. It's got the bird. We see the same cover, also from Amazon. These were very affordable. I think they might be on sale like for Black Friday week. Maybe they were like $12 or something. The prices go up and down. So lovely on the inside. Again. So for all of you who are not familiar, Frank L. Baum wrote the Wizard of Oz series. So you just know it's just rich, 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 rich with fantasy type detail. This is a fantasy. It was written in 1902, fantasy style, written in 1902. It tells the story of Santa Claus from the origins of his birth in the Enchanted Forest to his life as a benefactor for children, for kids. The story kind of shows how he's immortal and was adopted by like a wood nymph and came to live with humans, and how traditions like making toys and decorating Christmas trees and lighting the candles and using chimneys and reindeer, how he used them to become part of this Christmas tradition. So we have like the immortals in here, the Council of Immortals. So some of the key, points or themes in the book would be, infancy and childhood. Um, from that perspective, he's found in the forest as a baby by, I guess I would say the fairy, but I don't know if it's exactly a fairy. It's an immortal, basically. And it gets a little really heavy fantasy in there. I had to read this a few times over the years before I really could finally appreciate it and I'm not a heavy fantasy reader. So when you get into unusual non-human like characters, that's hard for me to get a visual on them. But there are some themes in here of like the manliness and purpose. He encounters a human society and everybody is suffering and nobody's happy, and he wants to bring happiness to them, what it means to be a man and a good man. We have immortality, the theme of immortality. As he grows old, he wants to, go through this council of immortals. He wants to find a way to stay young forever, and saying he deserves to because he has a purpose to make children happy. So we do get in this book into the mythological origin, and the historical figure as well. And then there's a lot of exploration of like facing mortality and immortality and wanting to hold on to your youth. So we do have a lot of fantastical, like magic elements in the story. I don't remember, I haven't read this one in a couple of years. But we have all the kind of fantastical characters, the immortals with strange names like the Nooks, and we have the creatures that are just unusual, mostly animals with personification. But the main theme in here would be immortality and kindness and giving, because obviously it's Santa Claus. So we have the simple act of kindness as a theme that can change someone's life, which is well done in this story. There's sort of the theme of joys and the legacy and how important a legacy is that can be handed down. And we also have a little bit of historical good detail on the origins of Santa Claus, the traditions and the importance of the traditions and the evolution of the traditions, such as how he got the reindeer, like I said. So there's actually, like, some learning you feel like into that sort of lore, we'll call it, you can get from here. Let me read a little bit. The first line, I'm reading you the first line of each book. This is from the youth chapter. Have you heard of the great forest of Burzee? Nurse used to sing of it when I was a child. She sang of the bird tree trunks standing close together, with their roots intertwining below the earth and their branches intertwining above it, of their rough coating of bark and queer, gnarled limbs, of the bushy foliage that roofed the entire forest. This makes me think of the movie, Christmas movie. I love it. It's so funny. With Vince Vaughn and Paul Giamatti, where Paul Giamatti plays Santa Claus and Vince Vaughn is the kind of the brother, and they're immortal. Um, Fred Claus. Yeah, Fred Claus. And at the beginning, you do see like their childhood in the forest and mythological Germany or wherever it was, and it kind of makes me think of the beginning of this book, just which is really interesting if you want to kind of visualize what that would look like. So yeah, so love it. Love this. Not as much. It's not the Victorian kind of Christmas feel. It's a completely different style of book. So if you're interested in it or never read it, I really do recommend it if you're interested in exploring different genres of literature. We're going to look at now something even more different. Very interesting, beautiful copy. This is Truman Capote's A Christmas Memory. Another beautiful copy. And all of these are cute little books. This one was from like the Modern Library. Another beautiful gift as well. So it's kind of like an enduring gift you can give to anybody. I have some stains on the back here. But this is like a fluttering and bright and wonderful story. It was written in 1956, I think. 1957. Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, it was 1956 to 57. But anyway, it's more of a narrative style, and it's very like provoking and evocative, and it's like this story of country life, rural country life, that really gets into the essence of like the joy of giving during the Christmas season, and it's really like poignant. Like it makes you think. Like it's like the message is to you. Like you really need to analyze what Christmas is all about. There is this kind of sad undertone of loss, sadness, loneliness, kind of like the Child's Christmas in Wales. So we have this sort of nostalgic short story of the boy in this rural farm Alabama childhood. It's really centers around like the connection and the bond of the young boy and what's his name? Buddy. Not like Buddy the Elf, but yeah, Buddy. And his older cousin, whose name I don't remember because I do remember Buddy. And the narrative follows like the tradition of making and giving away like fruitcakes and handmade gifts, and the influence of the older on the younger, and teaching about Christmas traditions and celebrating friendship between young and old, and just kind of the hard nature of growing up, but still being able to find a little bit of that Christmas joy and magic in the hardship. So unlike in Christmas Carol or any Charles Dickens work, which really focuses on the poverty and the miseries of like the working class in Victorian England, the importance of still having joy. It's kind of like that, but more rural and more rural and like something we can relate to that feels more real, more modern. Not as modern as now, but you'd have to read it to see the difference. But some of the key elements. This is an autobiographical memoir, autobiographical autobiographical memoir, reflecting on his childhood in 1930s. So 1930s because it's written in the 50s. So we do really get like a view of like what it was like, and even with the clothes and the farm life, and the tradition of the fruitcake is really explored in here, like as a main part of the story, and why it's important, and why do people make it, and why do people give it away. There's this like bittersweet nostalgia for times gone by. Even though they were, poor or rural and things were hard, there's still joy in that memory. And really, this story was based on Truman Capote's own life that he had with his cousin, whose name I still can't remember. Stewart or Stuke, Suk, something like that. I think I'm up. I'm pretty close. So yeah, poverty, innocence are the themes. Love and loss, growing up, nostalgia. And we have nostalgia. Christmas is highly associated as a theme to nostalgia. So I'm going to show you a little, well, I don't believe there are any illustrations in here at all, which there is not. Imagine a morning in late November, a coming of winter morning more than 20 years ago. Consider the kitchen of a spreading old house in a country town, a great black stove as its main feature, but there's also a big round table and a fireplace with two rocking chairs in front of it. So it's very relatable. That's what I was looking for. Very relatable. These are all shorter, easier reads, as most Christmas literature is. Even A Christmas Carol is extremely short compared to like Dickens's other novels. But let's talk about one that's feels more modern, but it's also old. We're moving, out of Victorian England, but not quite in the 1950s. We were just in the 1930s time period, but now we're in the 1950s, which is Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. Woo woo, 1938. This is my modern copy. It's a Hercule Poirot. I never know if I've pronounced that right. Poirot mystery. And the mystery takes place on Christmas Eve. So my first Agatha Christie was And Then There Were None, which it reminds me a lot of like a Clue, or like there's a movie with Ralph Fiennes it made me think of called The Menu, and some others, but Halloween by Agatha Christie was really good until halfway through, and it got to be a real slog after that. So this one is very engaging and enticing, and it's I don't know why there's so many murder mysteries set at Christmas. I don't view the joy and beauty and magic of Christmas as a time for murder, like, but it became like a theme somehow, detective stories. So like I don't know. But this is about the murder of a patriarchal man named Simon or Simone, don't remember. Um, he's a kind of a tyrant during a family reunion on Christmas Eve, which Hercule Poirot has to investigate. So the man is rich, Simon. He's gathered at a like dysfunctional family gathering for the holiday, the family that he torments often, and he's the one who's murdered. So the investigation by Hercule. I've heard it both ways. Everyone has motive to hate him. Everyone hated him. So it's like, who done it? It's kind of that basic who done it. So the mystery is a classic who done it, but with the festive descriptions of holidays and reunions and the settings, and there's like the whole locked room and secrets element, kind of like the what's secret in your Christmas package is under the tree, which there's a lot of emphasis on, and analysis of what could be in there. So some of the core themes in this mystery, the Hercules Christmas, is family dysfunction and resentment and drama and bitterness. And a lot of people dread the holidays now because we get together with family members. Oh, we gotta see him, we gotta see her. I'll just gotta bear through it. You can see evidence of that even in a story this old from the 1930s. Families have secrets. That's like a common theme. So the secret theme is heavy in the book. Obviously, you have to have secrets to make it a murder mystery, but it's really all like a heavy theme as well. And there's a nice portrayal of expectation of how you'll have secrets with family. We have the more the dark side of Christmas as a theme here, murder, hate, resentment, dreading to get together, lack of peace and goodwill, just kind of the opposite of everything you would associate with Christmas, and the opposite of peaceful, you have intense and stressful. We also have like this low level tone basis of greed. Everyone's greedy. Everybody wants greed is a motivator for who did it, constantly throughout the story. And it is good and charming. I can read you here. Good story. It's one of the ones I actually like. Part one. Stephen pulled up the collar of his coat as he walked briskly along the platform. Overhead, a dim fog clouded the station. Large engines hissed superbly, throwing off clouds of steam into the cold, raw air. Everything was dirty and smoke grimed. What a foul country, a foul city. Like it really like hooks you in right away. It is good. I'm not the biggest Agatha Christie fan, but I really do like this one. I
Okay,
like
so
it
I
better than
wanted to come back and
Halloween, and
insert
I
these
like
two
it as
because
much
I
as
forgot when
Ending
I
or
got to the
whatnot.
end. So I'm coming back and inserting these in the middle of my hard copies.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Louisa May Alcott's Christmas collection. Louisa May Alcott, as you know, wrote Little Women based on her life with her sisters in Connecticut or Massachusetts. Massachusetts? Yes. Anyway, so Louisa May Alcott wrote these beautiful, I don't have a hard copy with me because it's in my bin with all my Christmas goods and all my other Christmas literature. It's not one of my most often read because it's a little, I've read this so many times when I was younger that I like the more classic, harder stuff now. But Louisa May Alcott wrote several Christmas stories. They're kind of collected in volumes. So we have like the volume A Merry Christmas and Other Christmas Stories. We have the Christmas Treasury. We have some works you'll see, and there are short stories. They're mostly all just kind of lovely short stories, kind of like an expansion of Little Women, right? So we have like A Christmas Dream and how it came to be true. We have The Quiet Little Woman. We have a hospital Christmas and a hospital or hospital Christmas. There's a Christmas turkey and how the Christmas turkey came to be. So it's just kind of like you do see in Little Women, the book, and even in the movies, some obviously emphasis on their Christmases because obviously the character Jo, Lucy May Alcott as herself, really had a fondness of family memories of Christmas time, and so she writes that very poignantly and beautifully in not only in Little Women, but in these Christmas stories. So if you don't want to quite dive into Little Women, but want to read some Louisa May Alcott, I would pick up some of those Christmas. Um, I really like A Christmas Dream. That was about a spoiled child who's kind of like inspired by the Christmas Carol, a dream inspired by the Christmas Carol. The Quiet Little Woman is about an orphan girl. Um, so the Alcott Christmas collection is sort of like a very easy to dive into Christmas stories of like joy and cheer and family times of Meg and Beth and Joe and just the magic of Christmas. So you can't go wrong. You might be able to find some of them online as well, if you want to dive into some of Lucy May Alcott's Christmas stories. So let's talk about a final one, which is The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, written in 1905. The Gift of the Magi is Magi. I've always said Magi. I have heard people say it otherwise. I can't say no, which is correct. Classic Christmas literature. It's a short story. It's all about the true essence of gift giving. It has some really nice moral premise to it. Really makes you think twice about the just buying gifts versus thought and effort and purpose behind your gifts. So it's about a couple who's poor, young couple, I think it's Delilah or Della, maybe Delilah and Jim. Or maybe it was Della and Jim. Anyway, they sell secretly their most prized possessions to buy each other a new Christmas gift because gift giving is so important to them. So Della cuts off her hair and sells it to buy a chain or a watch or something for her husband, while Jim, oh no, to buy a chain. And Jim, the husband, sells a watch to get her new combs for her hair, but she cut off her hair. So it's kind of there's a Little House on the Prairie Christmas episode that it makes me think of when um Laura has her pony and all she wanted was a saddle for her pony for Christmas. But so the father Charles gets the pony, the saddle and makes it for her, but she sells the pony to buy her mom a stove. And so yet So yeah, it's that kind of a similar concept with that episode of Little House on the Prairie. I think was inspired by the Gift of the Magi. But the central themes in the story are really about selfless sacrifice and the uselessness of gifts, really, then the love for each other and joy in the moment and mindfulness and living in the present is really what it's all about over gifts. And that Christmas is really about love and dedication and sacrifice. And there is like the use of irony as a literary device in the writing with the sacrifices and the choosing gifts for things they no longer have, showing how Christmas gifts are really unusable. So it's what they really call kind of I think comic irony, you know. But the theme of the book or the story is really about the morality of love and sacrifice and the art of giving and the importance of love over material wealth. And the sacrificial nature of true love shown through that couple. And so it's really about, you know, poverty and generosity, kind of like the themes we see in the Christmas Carol. We it makes us think about wanting to do things like more toy drives and just giving more and maybe not being so focused on the materialness of the possessions. Um, so I have a quote I printed, one of my favorite quotes from the book. I printed it out. Yes. The Magi, as you know, were wise men. Maggie? Wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents, being wise. Their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children, which is the couple, in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they the wisest, everywhere they the wisest, they are the Magi. Yes, really brilliant story. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. Okay, let's get into the rest of the video with all of my hard copies. So I have to get my other pile on the floor here. We're going to talk about a well-known one here. Need to get my sticker off of it. This is my collection. This is, of course, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffman. It's not like a no-brainer, you know, and this is very interesting. Obviously, we've seen the Nutcracker movie a million times, the Kingdom of Sweets versions. We know the story. We've known it since childhood. I did as anyone else, but I had never read it. I had never read it until like 2 years ago. And, you know, it was written in 1816, so it has that typical, you know, Victorian England era Christmas feel with the dress, the decor, the Christmas. It actually is a heavier read. It's not this what we see the Nutcracker play musical every year at Christmas at our local theater or the movie versions. I mean, obviously that's the premise, but the scenes are somewhat typical we see in the reproductions, but there's detail and detail and detail and it reads like a, you know, the battle scenes reads more like a novel. I mean, it's a fantasy story. Not quite as fantasy as Life and Adventures of Santa Claus with the strange characters, but it is a fantasy, you know, with the mice coming to life, the Nutcracker coming to life. But typical, you know, a girl named Maria who's a Nutcracker whose Nutcracker doll comes to life on Christmas Eve. There's a prince, a curse, battles, defeats, this defeating beheading the Mouse King, saving the kingdom. Marie getting whisked away to the kingdom of the sweets. You know, there's themes of like the magical night, the one magical night when we escape the real world and go to this other place and what it was like and how it comes to life. We have like the battle is really reminiscent of real human battle scenes, you know, fairly detailed as well. We also have just beautiful language, just it's so much better than like the movies and the plays, you know, like I never thought I'd be so engaged and love it so much. So some of the themes we have here is the power of imagination. The power of imagination is essential for young and old. And we have we it kind of shows you how children's imaginations are so vivid and raw and broad and capable, and adults we kind of stifle our imaginations and we can't see as many possibilities anymore. So we have, the power of imagination for another world, another life, a catalyst for change to something that makes us want to change. And of course, we have the underlying theme of good versus evil. We have in many, many fantasies the heroic struggle, kindness and courage of the hero defeating the bad guy, consequences of trying to defeat the bad guy, trying to defeat evil, the dangers of that. And then, of course, the theme of childhood innocence, growing up, childhood dreams, childhood nostalgia, a bittersweet journey. Classic of actual children's literature is the character always is on some kind of a journey to evolve and grow and learn something or to be healed. And so we have that happening, but with like a lasting magic to it. This is my Barnes& and Noble leather version from their classic, smaller classic pocket editions. I do have other editions. So really Alexander Dumas, I guess I say E.T.A. Hoffman. So if you want to read up on Alexander Dumas, there's some origin crossover on the Nutcracker and the Mouse King. So read up on that a little bit and which version was by whom. So we have this beautiful intro. I'm trying to wonder what other, so we have little illustrations, throughout. Preface. There was a juvenile party at the house of my friend, Lord M. Oh, you know what? I forgot the preface is the inspiration. Oh, I've forgotten. I think the preface was the inspiration for the um story. So the Christmas tree. My dear children, you all know the beautiful toy stalls in the Soho Bazaar, the Pantheon, and the Lower Arcade, and your parents have often taken you there to permit you to choose whatever you like best. Then you have stopped short with longing eyes and open mouth, and you have experienced a pleasure which you will never know again in your whole lives, no matter the amount of acquired titles or fortunes. So there's that childhood, prepare yourself for loss as you become an adult and the realities of hardships set in. But it's beautiful. It's beautifully written, with the old classic language. You have to read it. You just have to read it. I'm gonna show you next. I have three things left. I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is my Easton Press, the complete novels of Charles Dickens. Here, I've had this for many years. My father gave it to me as a Christmas gift years ago. I'm going to do a separate video on A Christmas Carol. I'm going to do a deep analysis, how to read it, what to look for, some perspectives on it you've never known before. And I'm also going to show you in that video all my special editions of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is my favorite novel of all time. I have many, many versions of it, classic collectible versions. But in this, we have the cricket of the hearth on the hearth, the chimes, the battle of life, the haunted man, and A Christmas Carol. And my father, who passed away 2 years ago, wrote in it here. It says, to Emily from Dad, December 2013, Merry Christmas, love, Dad. Okay. Huge honker of a book. So some of them, in the Christmas Carol, obviously we have the traditional story. We have, and this has really large font, so I tend to always read my Christmas Carol when I study it from my smaller versions. Now the Haunted Man, and obviously in Christmas Carol, right, we have ghosts. But the Haunted Man, we have some of that. The Cricket on the Hearth, we do get a little Christmas vibe. I feel like a couple of the other stories in this collection of Charles Dickens aren't quite as Christmassy as others, but they are set at Christmas or the undertones of Christmas. And if you want something different than A Christmas Carol, and you can probably pull some of these stories online because they wouldn't be copywritten anymore. The one I like the best is okay, outside of A Christmas Carol, is probably and the Chimes is really like a goblin story. We have like a fantasy basis. I think the Cricket on the Hearth is the other more Christmassy one. I don't get into some of them feel more like they could be good for Halloween. So you can't go wrong with any of the Dickens short Christmas stories. I'm not going to talk too much about them. You can pull a couple online. You can probably
listen to a video of it read, a reading of it. Maybe I could do a reading on my channel of one of them. So I want to show you this. This is a classic for young and old. I absolutely adore it. It is the Little Golden Book of Christmas Stories. If you grew up like me, 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, I was born in the 70s, but the Little Golden Books were the books we had, much thinner than this. And there were these classic Christmas ones that were uh came out over the many years that I would have had some as a child too, all put together in this book. It's a beautiful gift. It's great for families. I love to look at the pictures. I like to read the stories. You got these gold. This is a special edition. You got this gold sort of edging here. It's got that glossy, shiny inside. I love to touch it. Absolutely beautiful. And it is classic. These are classic children's stories, but we have The Night Before Christmas, The Pokey Little Puppy's First Christmas, The Christmas Story, Baby's Christmas, The 12 Days of Christmas, The Little Christmas Elf, the child's version of the Nutcracker, Christmas ABCs, and Jingle Bells. But the illustrations are so beautiful and quintessential, and they feel like Christmas. Let me skip to like the Pokey Little Puppy. I look at this like myself every year. Like I actually will read some of the stories. I have an actually 3-year-old grandson now. He's has autism, so he's not quite really paying much attention to when I read to him yet, but someday. But we have beautiful artwork. So yeah, I would pick this up. It looks just gorgeous. Um, just being out there like with your Christmas decor on a table. People like to always pick it up. Like the images just kind of make you feel that nostalgia. And I do think it's a really a lovely gift for Christmas lovers and Christmas literature lovers, but great for all ages. I'm going to show you one last one. This is newer. The year of it is, I think it's mid 2000, yeah, 2013. I was going to say 2016. So this is a beautiful book. It is called The Visit, The Origin of the Night Before Christmas. It's this like enchanting story behind the Christmas poem, The Night Before Christmas, about its origins. And I just love this brown color, the earthen tones, the gorgeous, stunning artwork. It's a coffee table book. It's a nice variation for The Night Before Christmas to read to people, to family, to read yourself. It is lovely inside. I'm going to show you. It has these illustrations that are make you think of, like I was talking about, the life and adventures of Santa Claus, how it might have actually, looked. But it's such a gorgeous book for potentially gift giving. Um, so you can see like it's written as The Night Before Christmas. But there's more. Instead, it talks about how the story came up, and it's such a beautiful book. It's so beautiful. I mean, look at the artwork. Look at the artwork. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite one is, yeah, so this is kind of a classic, and this is an easier read classic, obviously, but it's just so you have to so quintessential. Just look at it. It's really lovely, and it's not and it has the poetic essence to it, right? So it's not like reading to a small child. It's like maybe an older kid or reading yourself or reading to an elderly person, but it's beautiful. I love to look at it every year. It's one of my favorite. I do have a whole bin of classic children's picture illustrated books, and I will do a video on those when I pulled out my Christmas stuff. So that is everything. Those are my classic Christmas books that I am recommending to you guys. I will link all of these books below. Please pick up one or two and read if you love to indulge in holiday classics. You can't go wrong. I didn't read many of these until after I was an English teacher, and it's just so delightful, like it's a nice break from it's just like I like to watch the old Christmas movies more than the new ones, like the older classics like Christmas with the Cranks, right, or The Grinch, versus all the new Christmas movies are silly and cheesy, and I don't. I think the only newer Christmas movie I liked was The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell, and that was still several years ago, one and two. But I like the old Christmas movies like
A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey that shows the Victorian kind of a Christmas, and I like the Christmas in Connecticut and White Christmas and the older. So I like stuff that feels older, not the modern cheesy Christmas novels and movies and stuff. So I'm nostalgic in that way. So you'll find something you like, I am sure. Thanks for watching. Please make a comment in the video below. It helps me grow my channel and be seen. I've been away from my channel for quite a while, and I'm trying to move away from more reviews of popular books and more onto the classics to match kind of what I teach as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great Christmas and keep the bell going for new videos.